Alright, today we're having a look at Through the Mountains by KK1. Alright, so here we are in Through the Mountains by KK1. I do hope I'm getting that name right. I know that I've looked at at least one of their levels at some time in the past. Now, this is said it was an alternate level of something that was made in LBP 1, which is interesting, and I'll have to track that down because you can't really do hook hats, and by can't really I mean can't at all in LBP 1. Now, checkpoints. We did just talk about checkpoints not too long ago. We could have sailed right over that checkpoint and died, and then everybody would have been sad. Now, the level does say that it is long, so hopefully not too long because this is before work. This is really pretty though. This is some really pretty work. Now, R1? Yes. Good music too. I am digging on the music. I'm digging on this level. Not like, I don't know, the pacing is a little bit, feels a little bit weird, but not necessarily bad weird, just a little bit weird. Now, I wonder if that would have killed us. I should probably check that, but for the B-rolls, we'll check it for the B-rolls. I mean, they're spiky, but they're clearly just... What? Okay, I love the way that the rocks broke off like that. Okay, well, now we have our answer. That would kill us. That also... Checkpoint to death is... I have some feelings about that. But, we're gonna move on here. Now, oh, fudge. Wonky jump. Don't know if I like that. Oh! Big scope! Come on, we can do this. I don't want to rush, but I do want to see as much of the level as possible. I do feel like sometimes recently we've been getting a little bit hung up, like early on in levels. What was that? Yo, okay, come on now. That wasn't fair. That wasn't fair at all. I mean, it's an infinite life checkpoint as far as I can tell, so it's not like a big deal, but come on. You can't just do a thing like that. What if we hadn't triggered that checkpoint? Although, I wonder if we hadn't triggered the checkpoint, would the rocks have fallen? Like, are those linked up as far as vents? I don't know what the logic looks like, so I can't say for certain. Still, this is really nice looking, though. This is, like, really, really slick. I love the lightning in the clouds there. I mean, the cloud material is a little bit wonky looking, if we're going to be 100% honest. I died, but I think we were supposed to die. I think that's like a scene transition death, but I did feel the controller... Oh, fudge! Okay, well, we're going to have to talk about whatever comes after this in the hub, and we'll see you there. See ya! And we're back, and Through the Mountains alternate by KCAbe1 or KK1. I'm really sorry, I'm sure that I'm screwing up that name, but I'd say it's a pretty solid on yellow square. It didn't quite hook me the first time through, but the more times I played it, I felt that there was more to appreciate in the level than maybe I was giving it credit for in that first shot. Now, just as a quick point out, we did play the alternate level in our first impressions there. I played through both of the levels. Now, the first level was done in LBP 3, the first version. I think I was just misinterpreting what it had said on the title page about it being the first LBP level, but yes, it's an LBP 3 level, which explains why we've got things like the hook hat going on in there. The only real difference that I could find was the choice in music for the first, like, big chunk that we saw in the first impressions. There's a different track that's used in the kind of bass version, but I do think that the one that's used in the alternate version is definitely the better choice. I wonder a little bit why they didn't just republish the first version with the music changed, but I have no idea. That's not my call. But as for this level, and what was really kind of dragging it down for me when I played it was that I kind of felt that the material choices and the way that the cameras are in some of the areas are a little bit uninspired and drab looking. That particular rock material, like, doesn't really have a lot of texture that lends itself to that pulled back wide space view of the material, I found that this level, when the cameras were pulled in a little bit closer, and when Casey Abe was doing a little bit more work with depth and layers, we see a bunch in the very beginning of the level I thought was really cool. And there is actually some good detail work going on there. It just kind of gets drowned out to some extent when the cameras do get pulled out. But I think the presentation of this level is really quite good. Now, I know I've mentioned a number of times in the series, I'm not like a really big fan of the hook hat, but I think that the hook hat was well used here, and kind of tying in the presentation, I really, really like that section where you're going through the power lines, and you've got like the storm in the background, there's lightning that's flashing, the towers are just well-built objects. I thought those were really cool, but that nice long glide that you've got going on with the hook hat, and I think that it really adds to that scene quite well. So like, good choice in marrying the gameplay of the hook hat with the presentation going on in the level. I thought that that was pretty cool. Now, the gameplay itself is, for the most part, pretty simple. There's not like really too much stretching going on here. You've got a lot of moving, you know, just from the left to the right, either on solid ground or on climbing. I did like that the climbing was pretty well implemented. It does help to mix it up a little bit, and it does add a little bit of visual detail there, where you've got kind of the bits that you're grabbing on to climb that are sticking out of the layer a little bit. Like, I thought that that was cool, and the way that one of those blocks like drops off in one of the sections that you're climbing, like, that was really neat. That was really cool. But like, you're not doing a lot of gameplay, and I do feel that it makes the level feel a little bit longer than it actually is. It's only like about maybe 4 or 5 minutes, but it just, because there's not a lot of variety in the gameplay, that it kind of drags a little bit. One small point also about the gameplay, it's kind of funny because we just did that tutorial video last week about checkpoints, but one of the consistent issues of gameplay in this level is that it can be really quite easy to miss the checkpoints. Like, take a jump off the hook hat rail and just go sailing right over the checkpoint, or land on a jump underneath the checkpoint where it won't trigger. It's not like a huge big deal, but you know, let's make sure those checkpoints are getting triggered by our players. They do have a pretty tight range on them, so we want to put an alternate way in there, like a player sensor beneath the checkpoint if we think that the player is going to land too low, to make sure that they do get triggered. Another little bit of gameplay weirdness I found towards the end of the level, and you've got a short little bit on a hook hat where you've got to jump off the hook hat, but then take it off with the O button to be able to do a grab really quick on a hanging bit of material there. And it's not undoable. It's not like super tight, but it's not really expected either. And because the sack pocket hasn't been turned off in the gameplay menu, you can, if you accidentally hit the O button twice, pull up the sack pocket and then not be able to grab onto the hanging material because, well, you've got the sack pocket open. So, like, the checkpoint's pretty close to that. It only took me, like, my worst go through it, and it took me like 4 or 5 times. It was a quick 4 or 5 times, so it wasn't really that bad. And I like the end of the level right after that. It kind of makes up for it, because you've got this really nice like vista where you've got like a star field in the background, there's a comet, you can see sticker material forest down below, and like, it's just, that bit's really, really cool. Now, I did play through a couple of other of Casey Abe's levels. We played through the diner in the Swamp of the Great Beast in the past, and I had a really good time with the diner. The Swamp of the Great Beast it's pretty drab looking, and I found that it could be a little bit unnecessarily tricky with the way that layers sometimes work, and you find yourself out of layers where you didn't really need to be. I played one called The Heart of the Universe, and I thought that one was really cool. It was a fun little level, but also was very like visually distinct in a way that this level wasn't. You've got like a lot of detail going on, and I thought it was really, really nice. I also played City in the Sky, and City in the Sky was a pretty fun, like, you've got floating islands and you've got, you know, flying ships, and it's not like super super well presented as far as objects, created objects, but I still did have a good time with it. This level is a good level. I did have a really good time with it. I don't think it's a great level, but I did think that it's worth the investment of the couple minutes it'll take to get through. So give it a look. I think it's only got like 85 plays up right now, so you know, get your name up there, get on the leaderboards. There's no leaderboards, there's no score in this level, no points, no point bubbles in this level, but that pretty much does it for us here. This is a bit of an easier one for me. That does it for us here this go about. So from me, Disco, here in Tokyo, to all of you out there, wherever you may happen to be, thank you, arigato, arigato, sayonara, see you, and ciao.